Welcome to our webinar about dental implant market in China. We are also pleased to experience the high interest of this topic by you being here, but also the interest of our recent blog articles and customer dialogues about the very same topic. By this webinar, we zoom in on pitfalls, how to succeed, but also what to look for within the latest political initiatives from the Chinese government. But first, let us introduce ourselves here. Lynn, would you like to start?
Yeah, thank you. And good afternoon. It's nice to see you. I'm Lynn. Is responsible for the sales of Elos Medtech in China. I've been in dental field for more than 20 years, and it's an honor to share this insight with you all today. Please, Annette.
Thank you. My name is Annette Moller, and I'm responsible for the global sales and the dental marketing of the dental business unit of Elos Medtech, part of Elos Medtech, and part of the business unit's management team. I've been at Elos for more than 7 years, and in the past, I've had management positions within sales, marketing, and business development across different industries. Lynn and I have really looked forward to share our insights with you today and reveal more than 7 months of research and preparation. You may have noted that Lynn is placed in China and I'm in Denmark on our Danish production side. And you as participants are also globally represented. I can reveal that. In case, however, of online technical failure or disconnection, don't despair. We will record this webinar and we will send it to all that have signed up for this webinar. And you are more than welcome also, of course, to reach out for us after this webinar. Please note, if you scroll with your mouse at the bottom of the screen, that there is a Q&A function. And if you click on that, you can write your questions throughout the webinar here. But let's go to the agenda. No, sorry. Let's move to the next slide. Why the need to create awareness and knowledge of this topic right now. First, let me give you the headlines of the new policy here. The goal is to reduce the economic medical burden for the Chinese dental patients. And they have introduced a price cap for the same reason, a so-called VBP, volume-based procurement structure that is to be administered at the end user side, the segments governed by the Chinese government, typically the public hospitals. This is addressing the dental implantology industry and indirectly the foreign implant companies operating in China. So what's the rush here? I mean, it is launched January 2022, and as a European and a US citizen, you're used to have a long time span between a new policy and the actual impact for the industry or business. However, it's not the case in China. In China, they act fast, and the time span between a new policy and the actual implementation is short. So, Lynn, please share some updates that emphasize that point.
Sure. Like Annette just mentioned, in this January, the new policy just was publicized and updated at 18th of August. For the implementation date is at Q4 of 2022. So we counted from this January to this August together within 9 months.
So we see gradually an implementation. That's our prediction starting now. And we've only seen the top of the iceberg for official regulatory restrictions here, but it's starting now. Let's move on to the agenda. In the next 25 minutes, approximately, we will walk you through the following agenda. First, give you an overview of the Chinese dental implant market. then how the impact of the international implant companies in China of the upcoming changes driven by the new policy, but also try to describe a new perspective for the same companies that are impacted. Finally, we will come up with how to bolster from this upcoming change. And at the end of the webinar, we will have a session where you are more than welcome to ask questions. And that is actually what I mentioned before. If you use your mouse and scroll down at the bottom of this screen, you see a Q&A. And here you can write your questions and we will collect those questions as we go along. We are supported by a team behind us here. Let's ensure that. Okay, let's move on. On the next slides, we will present how the dental implant system market works, operates, give you some data, some figures, and who drives the market space in China. Lynn, would you like to continue?
Yes, sure. You know, in China, we have two segments, public hospitals and private clinics. All public hospitals are owned by the Chinese government. Further, the Chinese patients is largely in favor to public hospitals, much more than private clinics. But so far, the total implant treatments is split 50-50 across private clinics and public hospitals.
Mm. And then the trust part here, why is it that most Chinese dental patients tend to favor and trust public hospitals, Lynn? Could you elaborate a little on that?
Yeah, you know, basically the Chinese patients believe that they can have a safety and better treatment and solutions in public hospitals. Additional, they are going to have the reimbursement from the payment they have paid to the public hospitals. Additional, further, I mean, public hospitals has the full range completed departments, and the average technical level is higher than private clinics. Mm-hmm. And those departments is like surgery department and cardiac department and like ENT department. I mean the ear, nose, throat department, something like that. Just fulfill all the expectations from the patients. Yeah.
So somehow it is considered an attractive place to work also for the very competent specialists and professors in the dental implantology business or industry.
Sure, sure. I mean the professors from public hospitals, normally they have very strong influence and higher academic status in the industry. Please, Annette.
And the bias, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, here we listed the representative public hospitals on the left side and the major franchised private clinics on the right side. Among the 6 key public hospitals, there are 2 from Beijing, the north of China. 1 is from Shanghai, the east of China. 1 is from Xi'an, the west of China, and the rest 2 are from Sichuan and Guangdong, the southwest and the south of China. You know, in general, Peking University is the most prestigious and considered as the first mover in China. Please, Annette.
Yes. Then we move to the seller side of the business. If you can see, there's a vertical line representing the right and the left here. The local brands, the domestic Chinese brands are mentioned, mapped. We have selected, it's not a complete map, but we've selected the most dominated brands on the right side of the map here. And they manufacture the products in China and they sell and distribute the products in China. The international brands, also called the foreign brands here, are listed on the left, includes different countries, represented different countries from Korea, US, Germany, Switzerland, etc. Israel, I can see also. So somehow they have a strong, I will come back on that soon, that position. They do not manufacture themselves in China, but they sell and distribute in China today. Please. This is an overview of the anticipated market development for China. The source is iData report, iData survey. And as you can see, the 2027 shows a level of $700 million US. And if you compare with the US market, which is much more mature market already today and has been for a while, the US market is $1 billion US in 2027 from the same source. So we consider this to be an attractive potential market in China. On the right side, you can also see how the split is regarding who provides the implants in China. 90% of the implants are provided by the international foreign brands today. That's also why we think this knowledge of this webinar is so crucial and relevant. So let's continue. To look into the impact of the new policy, but also introduce you to some solutions. But first, let's have a glance on the terms and the abbreviations used not only in this webinar, but also actually in different blog articles and reports about China. First, let me introduce into the term entrusting partner. That is the legal manufacturer who is the technical file owner, but also registrant of its product in China. That could be the implant company in this case. The entrusted partner is the company that manufacture on behalf of the entrusting partner. So they have, of course, to comply to rules and different approvals and processes in order for them to have the status as an entrusted partner. VBP is an abbreviation of for volume-based procurement, and that is a term that was introduced as part of the new policy. And then we come to the classes that have been defined by the National Medical Product Administration, NMPA, in China, where class 1 are low risk, non-invasive medical devices, and class 3 in China is exactly the same as class 2B in Europe and class 2 in US, and defined as high risk invasive devices. On the authority level, the NMPA works on a national level, but they also have an authority level called MPA that works on province regional level. Let's continue. Now we move on to what we predict would be the impact on these national new Chinese policy. And again, this is our prediction based on also our dialogue with the industry, but also on the findings we have researched and come up with for the past 7 months. First, we believe that in order to still have access to the very attractive segments in China, the public hospitals, you have to meet the domestic brand qualification requirements. If not, if you continue as is today, acting as a foreign brand, you would see a sharp decline in product sales in China. And the result would be to be pushed out of the market completely, leaving the market to the current Chinese products that, of course, in due time will become more mature and offer a good performance at a price that match the new policy price cap price cost. So that calls for understanding how to be considered as a domestic brand provider. if you target the attractive end user segments in China. So how do we become domestic if we are a foreign brand today, Lynn?
Well, according to the related medical devices regulations, we notice that to be considered as a domestic brand, the essential definition is where the products are produced. You, as the legal manufacturer, must be located in China and make the full production stages by yourself or do the following. For Class 1 items, must perform the final stages as the full production stages cannot be outsourced entirely. For Class 3 products, you either can perform the final stages by your own self or outsource the full production stages to an entrusted partner. Please, Annette.
Yes. And we have chosen to continue elaborating a little on this part to make sure that, because this is not simple, but we try to describe things in a way that we hope is understandable. So what are the common areas of class 1 and class 2 restrictions, and what are the differences? In the middle column, you see what they have in common. First, the legal manufacturer has to be located in China. Second, they can outsource all manufacturing until component level. Even you can even outsource the production outside China. It doesn't have to be inside China on component level. You have to have a business license, a product registration, and production license. And also please note that for class 1, it is considerably more simple to apply for that. Then we move to the differences of class 1 and class 3. For class 1, you cannot outsource a complete manufacturing. You have to perform and conduct the final manufacturing stages in China yourself, meaning the packaging, the labeling, and an additional procedure like cleaning. Rather simple, but that is the demand to be considered domestic. So the final part have to be performed by the entrusting partner or the buyer, the implant company itself. For class 3, however, on the right, the legal manufacturer can actually either, as Lynn mentioned, perform everything themselves in China, but actually also outsource all manufacturing, including the final stages, to an entrusted partner acting and operating in China. The final thing I would like to mention here is that anytime you're working with an entrusting partner on a manufacturing stage, the production files only need to go to the entrusted partner, not the NMPA. And that, of course, we will come to that regarding risk. I'll come back on that. Now, remembering the new brief headlines of the new policy, let's look into the risk of this policy being a foreign implant company. Lynn?
Yes, as we tried to elaborate to you previously, there are two key signals were released from the new policy, and the to reduce the medical burden for their citizens, to finalize the pricing structure, including VBP, volume-based procurement. However, like the other Chinese policies, as usual, it also indicates the opportunities and the prospective challenges behind the words. We've seen an implicit perspectives from this new policy. 3 key issues: localization. The authority is convincing the manufacturer to produce products in China. Protection. There's no doubt that domestic brand is going to be benefit from new policy. Development. the China technical knowledge is going to be developed at the next couple of years. Anyhow, becoming the domestic is the key issue to accessing to Chinese market. Yes. Is your company still regarded as the foreign status? Would your business is impacted by these new policies? So far as what we've learned, the companies listed here, they are still maintaining their foreign brand status. So far, the very clear risk for maintaining the foreign brand status is to become increasingly restricted access to public hospitals and private clinics in the midst of the policy change. Please, Annette.
Yes. So how do we bolster for the changes covered in today's webinar? If you want to be considered a domestic brand, which we believe is a prerequisite to access the most attractive segments of customers and end users, you need to have your products manufactured and produced in China. For class 1, you need to perform final stages yourself. But the new policy opens up a new opportunity to outsource manufacturing to an entrusted partner, even completely for class 3. So while not, you can do that while not losing your legal manufacturing status in China. And yet that was not possible before. The advantages of having an entrusted partner is almost obvious. First of all, the time savings. It takes considerably less time to find an entrusted partner to handle the process versus to set up a licensed organization and a plant in China. We have estimated that it will take up to 4 to 5 years at least to build your own plant, and all the training, all the processes that needs to be in place, including all the application and approvals. In addition to that, there will be regular inspections by the MPA when you act and operate as with your local plant in China. So time savings, of course, is a big factor, a parameter here. Then the risk parameter. You can protect your brand and your business choosing an entrusted partner. This will limit the full transparency of your production files for outsourcing stages. And in class 3 example, you can actually outsource everything. That means you could actually limit the full transparency of the production files completely to an entrusted partner, not to the NMPA. So the NMPA in this case will not have the full transparency access to your production files. The final issue about reliability is our personal view on this and recommendation. We would definitely recommend you to choose an entrusted partner who meets fully with the quality and regulatory requirements, not only in China, but also globally. Being in compliance in other parts of the world demonstrates strong QA and also RA competences and focus within those fields with the entrusted partner. And I think that's crucial to have success in China in future. I like to make you aware of the fact that Elos Medtech is already an entrusted partner for class 1 and class 3 contract manufacturing in China. Elos Medtech was founded in Scandinavia and has actually been operating in China with our own contract manufacturing plant for more than 12 years. We can actually act as your entrusted partner right now and enabling you to achieve a domestic brand status in China. Next year, we will celebrate our 100-year anniversary, built on strong long-term customer relationships with global companies. We know from our annual customer survey and our continuous dialogue with our customers that we live and breathe our corporate value of being and acting trustworthy and meet all quality and regulatory requirements, not only in China, but also in Europe and the US. Now is actually time for questions. And should I check the questions received during the webinar? I can see that. And what I have here is the following. If my company has class 3 products being outsourced and produced in China, and then we also have class 1 products made in Europe, should my company be considered a domestic company in China? Lynn, would you like to reply on that one?
Sure. In this case, the class 3, which is produced in China, will regard it as the domestic brand, while the class 1 produced outside of China will be treated as the foreign brand.
Okay.
Thank you.
Another one is, what is the price cap of the VBP today? What are the indications?
So from the updated investigation from NHIA, National Healthcare Insurance Association, that they would like to recommend about 4,500 RMB per treatment, but so far until today, they haven't decided and announced it yet.
Okay,
Thank you.
So this is the official known implemented part of the new policy, right? So we could expect much more in the next month ahead. Well, I think we'll, to respect the time here, we'll end this session, this webinar. And I'd like to thank you on behalf of Lynn and I myself for your participation in this webinar, but also emphasize that you are more than welcome to reach out for each of us for further information and a meeting. We would be happy to continue the dialogue with you directly. Thank you very much for participating.
Thank you.